You're alive.
Hey everybody, it's Dave with DII. Welcome to the DII live handpan class. We're really happy to have you here with us today. What we do in this class is we have myself, I show you all the basics about how to play a handpan, and we also do interviews. So today we have an interview with a burgeoning new handpan player. He's only 12 years old. His name is Heathrow, so Heathrow is going to be on with us in a little bit. So I'm going to be really happy to talk with Heathrow about how he's engaged with the handpan and how he got started and all that sort of thing. If anybody has any questions while we have the show going, please feel free to put your comments into the comment area. We've got people behind the scenes watching those comments, and we can put them up on the screen. If you have any questions, we can answer those questions live today. And it's a really great opportunity to get some instant feedback. So if you're out there and you have questions about the handpan, this is a really great opportunity for you to send in the comment and get instant feedback from us. So that's our plan. By the way, if you haven't subscribed to our channel already, if you're on YouTube, go to the YouTube you see the picture on the screen, and over here beneath the image there's a red word that says subscribe. Click on that red subscribe button and become a subscriber. It'd be great to have you. It's a really awesome format for us to produce programs like this, and you can see more of what we do as they come out each time we post something. Also, don't forget to join our DII newsletter. If you go to our website, davesislandinstruments.com, at the very bottom of the homepage, you can click on the join the newsletter button, and you can get email updates of all sorts of things that we do here, special deals, and anything that's going on at the store. Also, we've got a new thing called the DII community. And if you go to our website, again, there's a little drop down that comes down from the top of the screen, and you can join the DII community. You can also go to the services tab and look for the DII community. There it is. And the DII community is a new lessons platform that we have going for handpans and ultimately for ukuleles and steel drums in the future. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more than you have on these live classes, we've got in-depth lessons that are in this platform that describe all sorts of things about how to get started with the handpan. And we're adding new videos each month. So last month we added Auris videos about the Auris handpan, the stainless steel model we have here. This month, we've been adding content and lessons on the Luna Clarity 11, the handpan that I'm playing here with the bottom notes that you can see there if you're watching there. And so we've got all sorts of lessons and activities and stuff like that for you to engage in on the DII community. So please check those out if you haven't already. Before we get started with the interview, I just want to let you know on April 10th, coming up in a couple weeks, we're going to have an interview with Ricky from Rewild Your Soul. He also has a YouTube channel, and he talks about RAV drums and handpans and all sorts of things. So looking forward to that. And then on April 24th, we're going to have Heathrow back. I know you haven't met Heathrow yet. He's coming soon. But we're going to have Heathrow back, and we're going to be interviewing Heathrow and a guy from TikTok who's got like 1 million subscribers on his TikTok channel. He's a handpan player, and his name is Adam. His call name is Ethereal E. And we're going to have a joint interview on April 24th, talking about handpans and how to get started and moving along with the progress of learning how to play the handpan. So that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so with no further ado, I'm going to have Heathrow join us now. Heathrow, are you there?
Hello.
There he is. Hey, Heathrow, thank you so much. Yay! That's right. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a really thrill for me to see you grow as a player and get introduced to you. I really knew you when you were really small, because the history between us is that I knew your mom before you were even born. So your mom is a good friend of my sister, and they met each other in high school. Cass, are you there? There she is. Hey, Cass. Thanks so much for being here. So you knew my sister in high school, right?
Yes, we met when I was 14.
Exactly. So we've known each other for probably 30 years or more now.
Yes, it's a little bit more now.
Okay, so tell us quickly the story about how you contacted me and how Heathrow ended up getting the handpan that's in front of you.
So the joke in the house is, if you need something, just have Mom talk to one of her friends, because Mom talks to everybody.
Perfect.
And Heathrow is my shy one and doesn't really ask for much of anything. And when he started talking about handpans and his love of this guy on TikTok, and he started me all the videos, I said, let me talk to Dave. I know Dave.
Okay.
Dave knows handpans.
Yeah.
And so I contacted you, and you said, I got you. And you came with handpans.
That's right. So the way it worked out is I had an old one that I had like in my shed at my house, and it was one that had like a little crack in it and had little imperfections. But I thought, you know what, this would be perfect for Heathrow to get started on. So that's what I brought over to him. And in fact, when I brought it over, we made a little video of how I got introduced to Heathrow.
Do you want me to show
Now
that right
he's
now,
12. Yeah, sure. I got to know him first probably when he was like 1 or 2 years old. But then here he is 12, grown up. And so, yeah, let's show that video of how we got the video into Heathrow's hands here. Okay, we are approaching Cass's house where Heathrow lives. We're going to be delivering a handpan to Heathrow, so this is going to be fun. So, how did you find out about handpan?
I found some guy on TikTok.
Oh, right on, okay. It sounds like that.
Nice.
So kind of like a handpan. The bottom, just like a regular handpan. So give it a shot. You've never even touched one before,
Never even
right?
touched one.
Okay. So the first thing you want to learn how to do is how to get that sound, right? Okay, so the one thing a lot of people do is they touch it. And when they touch it, it inhibits it from vibrating. So you want it to actually vibrate and resonate, right? So what you want to do is see how my finger like immediately comes up?
Yeah.
So you just want to do that. You want to have your finger just kind of hit it. Good. Yeah.
Nice.
You should be able to get that sound probably a week or two, like if you just practice with it for a little while.
Alright.
And it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to it. So go slow and don't like beat yourself up about like you're not getting the proper sound like the next day. Play. There it is, nailed it.
There you go. Good
You
job.
get the sound like this. Right? So you're looking for that nice warm sound. There it is. That's it. Awesome. I think we're done with our little tutorial here. Thank you, Heathrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you so excited?
Yeah.
He's like, "Are you?"
Awesome. There it is. So Heathrow, it's been, I don't know, how long has it been? Maybe 2 months since I saw you that time?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that video, I just noticed that I said it's going to take you a couple weeks in order to get the sound going. How did you feel about, how long did it take you to feel comfortable getting the sound out of the instrument?
Probably like a week and a half to 2 weeks, pretty much.
Okay, very cool.
Playing.
So, yeah. So did you pretty much play it every day or how long did you play it? Like how, I'm just kind of, for the people that are watching right now, a lot of people, when they start playing the handpan, they kind of want to know, like, how long does it take to learn how to play it?
I've been playing it every day for about like 15 minutes for 2 months, and I've gotten pretty good.
Oh, that's awesome. So, that's interesting because 15 minutes, I think, is an ideal time to practice something and then just kind of like let it go and then come back to it later. I think the brain processes things pretty well with the smaller intervals like that. Sometimes people practice for like an hour and sometimes they just get frustrated after they practice too long. So that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that it worked out for you. So on that first video, you were like touching the instrument and you were getting like kind of thunky sounds out of it. So let's hear how you're doing it now. If you don't, do you mind if you're playing a little bit?
Sure.
Okay. Awesome. So I saw you earlier when we were logging into the show earlier today, but I told you earlier, but your hands look so much smoother now. It's just amazing. Like from the first time I showed you how to play it, because the first time your hands kind of had a stiff look to them, and now they look way more fluid.
Yeah, my dad helped me out with that.
Okay, cool. So what was something that he helped you out with? What was something that he said that made you think how to do it differently?
My dad used to play the guitar. He still does, and he helped me calm down and got my hands all loose.
Cool. Yeah. So I think we would call that relaxation. Relaxing, right? Learning how to relax and play. Yeah. What's funny is I have this little sign here for my classes, and it's called Just Breathe. So frequently when people start learning how to play something that's brand new, they stop breathing and they tighten up and they get rigid, And so I think that's a perfect example of how to do that when you're learning like the handpan. Your dad basically told you to like relax and just enjoy the process and just breathe a little bit probably. So that's terrific. So the other thing too that was really fun about your story is when I asked you how you got started or how you got interested in handpans in the first place, you said a guy from TikTok, and then later on you showed me the TikTok and who it was. So tell me a little bit about how you got started with watching those TikTok videos.
So his first video, it was like a joke thing, so I subscribed because it was funny. And then I checked in like a week later, and he was posting like handpan stuff, and I thought it was really cool.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so the first one you saw him wasn't even a handpan; it was just like a joke kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, because after I saw you and I met you, then I looked in on my TikTok to find him, and then I saw a bunch of his videos, and he's got all sorts of fun videos there with handpans in them. So that was pretty fun to meet him there. And then for all the people out there that don't know, I was able to contact the guy that's on TikTok, and his name is Adam, and we're going to be having an interview with Adam at the end of April on our April 24th show. And Heathrow's going to be there, and we're all going to meet together and talk about handpans. It's going to be a really fun show. So what do you think, Heathrow? You going to look forward to that?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. I'm excited too because I've never met him. I've never met Adam, so it's going to be really fun learning about his story with handpan and how he got started playing handpan. And we can all talk about how we got started playing handpan together. It's going to be fun.
Okay.
All right. So I think we're done for today. Thank you so much for checking us. It's really great to see your progress, and I'm just so happy to see you continuing to play your handpan.
Thank you. I will keep on playing it like 15 minutes a day.
Woohoo! Awesome, man. Have a great afternoon.
Have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Awesome, everybody. So that was Heathrow. So I'm glad you watched that. It's really fun watching somebody progress from nothing to where they can play the instrument more comfortably and more in a relaxed fashion. So you can see right there, if you're a beginner and you're kind of wondering, how long is it going to take for me to get comfortable with this instrument? With Heathrow's example right there, it did take him a couple weeks for him to feel more comfortable with it. And really, it's been about 2 months now. And you can see that his hands are feeling a lot more fluid, or they look more fluid, and his sound is a lot better than it was when he first started. So you can see with practice and diligence, you're going to be just fine. So that's really an excellent example of how you can get started with the handpan. All right, so we're going to move on to our traditional handpan class now. In the old days, before COVID, we used to have a handpan class here at DII in the store, and we would put it on an advertisement, and people would come down to the store, whether it was 2 people or 10 people, and I would give a handpan class on Saturdays at 1:00 p.m. So now we're doing it online, and so basically I'm going to give that same kind of class right now, and basically the same kind of lessons. And if you have any questions, beginner, or if you're intermediate, or if you just got a handpan, if you have questions, feel free to put them in the comments screen. We have people looking at this, and they can answer those comments as we go. So, or they can post them on the screen and answer them as we go. So that's a great way to get information directly back to you while you're watching the live show. All right, so the handpan class. Oh, by the way, sorry, before we get started with the handpan class, I think Daniel's here with us. Daniel, did you have some information that you wanted to announce?
Yes, I am here. Hold on, let me find let me find my 2 spot. Yay.
Your notes.
Hey, there we go. There we go.
How's it going, Daniel?
Is the one I want. Actually, I just wanted to for anybody that loves ukulele or just loves music in general. Every Saturday we've been trying to get musicians on and talk about what makes them so special, or how they got to where they are today. And actually I have a special guest, and this is going to be next Saturday on the YouTube Ukulele Workshop. We have a special guest, Abe Lagrimas Jr. And if you guys don't know him, he's actually a jazz musician, started with percussion, does vibraphone, and is like his third instrument is ukulele, but he's one of the best ukulele players I've seen. So especially for jazz and fingerstyle and stuff like that. It's so awesome. But he's going to share his new album, and also he's going to share just some tricks and tips for ukulele and about music. So good friend of mine. Awesome. So we're gonna absolutely have fun. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely next week.
There's a question.
Yeah, right on, Daniel. Good job.
All right, cool. But that's all I have. You know, actually, me and Dave, Dave I know has right behind him. He has the ORS-9, and he's
That's right.
completed a
Well, this
few
is
of
actually
those.
his ORS-12, but we've got
Oh, that's
ORS-9
our
too.
ORS-12. All
Yeah.
right, cool. And you know, we did a commercial, a commercial just showing the RS9 yesterday, and so we had a little adventure. So that was fun. That commercial should be coming up, and you know, we're just here to get these handpans out to the people that want them. I know that for sure. So.
Oh, speaking of handpans, by the way, too, we also have rentals. We've got rentals. Like this is a rental handpan that we have here at DII, and the rentals typically have the yellow bottom on them. And so a lot of people who are still not quite, if they're on the fence about buying one, renting is a great option. And also, you can rent them. Like if you have a party, this would be a great idea. If you had a party and want to have everybody have a handpan, you just tell everybody to call us up, get a rental, have your party. Like once COVID ends and all that sort of thing, summer party. Next thing you know, all of your friends have a rental. You guys can play and jam out together on a beach fire. So I think that's a great idea. It'd be like totally fun to get a bunch of handpans out on the beach and have everybody playing them. It'd be really fun. So that's another idea you could do with rentals.
Awesome. And just a little side note, I do have right now. I have we have this is the young day, but I just got a student, and she just turned 8, and she's playing handpan, and I'm teaching her how to play handpan. So we have a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. I can't wait to see them in a couple of years because that's going to be pretty interesting. Yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Starting the future out right, you know?
That's right.
That's all I got, Dave. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Daniel. All right, moving on with our handpan class. Okay. So raise your hand if you've never played a handpan before.
Actually, there was one question before. Got a question.
I didn't see anybody out there yet.
Yeah. But we have a question real quick,
Okay,
Dave.
yeah.
Let's see. Where is it? Great question. What's Greg? What does Greg? Oh, awesome. I have used a gun all. Okay, Mitch Schrader. There's multiple. I've used a gun all-in-once, clean and lube on my pan. Awesome, most nice. I need that love. What's great? I don't know what this question is, Carrie.
So basically, what does Dave use to maintain the handpans?
Oh, what does he use to maintain the handpans? You got that out there? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What do you use to maintain the handpans? Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as he said the word oil or something like that, I was like, oh, okay. So just FYI, our handpans require a kind of low maintenance compared to a lot of other handpans. So this is a powder-coated Luna Clarity handpan, and powder coating, literally all we need to clean it is like water and a soft cotton cloth. Otherwise, if there's some oil hands from like pizza or from French fries or something like that gets on it, you could just use glass cleaner and with a soft cotton cloth and just wipe it right off. So the powder coating is really awesome for as far as keeping things clean and handpans clean and keeping them rust free. The RS model back here, this is made out of stainless steel, so it doesn't quote unquote rust like regular steel does, but it still needs to be maintained and keep it clean. So we just use basically like a stainless steel cleaner that's kind of off the shelf at a typical grocery store or something like that. So we just use stainless steel cleaner. You just wipe it on every once in a while just to make sure that the moisture and everything stays off of it. But largely, it's not going to rust like you would imagine a steel instrument rusting. So the question usually is concerning nitrided metal steel handpans. So nitriding is a heating process that steel goes through that some handpan players use to make their instruments. And sometimes nitriding can be really rock solid, and you can get water and moisture on it, and it doesn't really do anything to it. But sometimes the water can permeate into that surface and cause rusting. There's also other handpans that are just made out of just regular plain steel and that don't have any kind of coating or anything on them. They might have a paint on them, like a traditional regular spray paint or something. But that paint can scratch, and then once it scratches, the rust can occur where the scratch is, or if it's just regular plain steel, the rust can start showing up all over the place. If it's just plain steel, you need to make sure that you coat it with something that's going to keep the rust from occurring, basically to repel the water. So there's a product called Frog Lube that a lot of people use, and I think Frog Lube is kind of originally made for maintaining guns and that sort of thing. But Frog Lube is, I believe it's something that's it's not like a petroleum-based product. So if you're worried about petroleum-based products, it's pretty good for that. I've heard that coconut oil actually works pretty well for repelling rust. I haven't really tried it on long term on my own, so I can't vouch for that. I have used frog lube. There's another thing I haven't used, but other people talk highly about it. It's called Phoenix oil. And I haven't used it myself, but I think you can look that up on Amazon or something like that. Look up Phoenix oil. And I've heard good things about that. Otherwise, if you use oils like a traditional oil like WD-40 or just regular, some other kind of petroleum-based oil, it's just going to get greasy all over your hands. And I don't really suggest it because it's not going to be the thing that you want, even though it'll protect the steel from getting it rusty and corrosion, that sort of thing. So anyway, those are my suggestions. A lot of people have questions about that, but luckily the DIY hand pans that we have here, I've put a lot of effort and thought into trying to make them really easy for people to maintain. So that's why we do a lot of the powder coating and the stainless steel, because they're fairly pretty easy to maintain, I must say. So there you go. Hopefully that's kind of a long answer to your question there, but hopefully I got it right. All right, moving on to our handpan class. So first of all, let's just talk about the handpan itself. If you're brand new to handpans, this is the top. It's made out of, okay, looks kind of like a flying saucer. There's a top and a bottom to it. The top has a bunch of little things called tone fields. I call them notes, and sometimes I call them tone field notes because I call them different names. This big note in the middle is called the ding note, D-I-N-G, and it has the lowest frequency of all the notes. On the bottom, you've got this big hole in the bottom. This hole in the bottom is called the GU, G-U, the GU hole, and it produces kind of like a bass tone. I don't know if you can hear that over the internet or not, but it has a bass tone in it. You've got all these certain kind of like metallic tones that you can get out of the bottom for percussive kind of ideas. And then more recently, people, and myself included, have been putting notes on the bottom shell. So you can see these other notes here that increase the playability of the top and increase different musical ideas that you can create with the entire instrument. So that's the basics of handpan. Some people make handpans out of plain steel, meaning just like regular steel. Some people make it out of nitrided steel, which I was just talking about a second ago, which is a heat treating process that it goes through. And then other people, and myself included, have been using stainless steel recently, the stainless steel RS that we have here on screen. They're all really good options. The tuner is the one who really puts the magic into the metal. So the kind of metal that the instrument is made out of is, reminds me a little bit about a wood. Like if you were to get a guitar and have a mahogany guitar and compare it to one that was made out of a spruce wood. So mahogany is one kind of wood, spruce is another kind of wood. The guitar could be identical, but the wood is different. So they're both going to have slightly different sounds. So that's the way I think about the metals that are used for making handpans. Each metal kind of has like a slightly different sound. But that beyond that, the skill that's used to create the handpans or to create guitars, it really matters. So if you get a really highly skilled guitar maker making a guitar out of various kind of woods, they're all going to have a certain kind of quality sound to them. Whereas if you get somebody that really know what they're doing, it doesn't matter if they have the best wood or the best metal in the world, it's not going to sound as good as it would if it was made by a really skilled professional. So those are questions that people have about handpans a lot, is what the materials are made out of and da-da-da-da. So that's just kind of my perspective on that. There's an image on screen, and you can see that the handpan that we have on screen, it matches this, and it might be upside down, of course. So you can see it has the big D in the middle, the ding, and then it has lower notes that go like this up to the highest one at the top. So we either name those letters or we name them with numbers. So in our system, we start on number 1 in the middle, 1, and then we go around the rim, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we call this an 8-note handpan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So a lot of people like the numbers when they don't really understand music or they haven't studied music, because it just makes a little bit more sense to them. I have a music background, so I tend to always think with the letter names of the notes. So I think about this being a D, this being an A, this being a C, this being a D, E, F, G, and A. So I'm always thinking about the letter names, not so much the numbers. But either one is fine, especially for getting started. I know a lot of musicians that play handpan that don't know anything about music, or they don't have much education in music. but they've got a great ear and they can play the heck out of the handpan way better than I could. And it's just amazing to hear what they come up with. But if you ask them like what note or what chord they're playing, they don't really know, because it's becoming something that they just do intuitively, and they've in their own way. And I also know some jazz musicians that I've played with before, like great guitar players and that sort of thing. Some people that don't always know what chords that they're playing, but they just hear it. You hear that a lot of some certain musicians. They say, "I just hear it." So a lot of people have that skill. And then there's other people that just need to kind of which note is where, and that gets them started the way they do like that with music. And that's kind of the way I've kind of gotten started. I learned about the notes and where they're placed on the staff, and I'm more of a traditional musician in that extent. So the notes that are on this handpan, we call this the sunset scale. And the sunset scale is basically a D minor scale. People have all sorts of questions about scales, because handpans are typically 8 or 9 notes, and they typically don't have traditional named scales like C major or D minor or E major. It's not usually names like that. They usually have names like integral or pygmy or Ursa minor. They've got these really interesting sounding names, and I'm not sure exactly what developed with the names, but we happened upon the D minor scale that we liked, and we called it the sunset scale. And it is a D minor scale. The only thing it's really missing is a B flat to make it a proper D minor. But that's just me with my music nerd hat on. So it's a D minor scale. There's a lot of handpans that are made in D minor. So the one thing we like about this handpan is that you can play along with other people frequently. So if you have a handpan and you know a friend that has a handpan, it might be more likely that they have a D minor handpan than having some other kind of scale. So I like the idea that they can play along with others and play with friends and that sort of thing. So that's one reason why we concentrate on the D minor scale. Another reason we concentrate on the D minor scale, which is the sunset scale, is when I have my shop here, I used to have like a wall full of handpans, and there were a lot of different scales that we were offering at the time. And pretty much 80% of the time, I'm telling you, it was amazing. And this was not something we were trying to achieve. About 80% of the time, people would walk into the store, they would kind of end up with the D minor scale with the sunset, and they really liked it. They thought it was very pleasing and something that they really liked. So we've, again, just kind of centered on the D minor scale, and the sunset in particular, because it's predominantly the handpan that most people are attracted to right off the bat. And I like it too. I think it's a great instrument, and it's a great scale. It just kind of leads you forward. It's very meditative, but you can also kind of make it playful at the same time. And so it's got a lot of options. So that's another reason why we like this D minor sunset scale. All right, so let's practice. Let's take a look at these notes here that are on this scale. Again, the D ding note is in the middle. I usually play that with my left hand. My right hand is on the A. Now, you'll notice I have my handpan on a stand, and so the handpan is kind of a flat direction like this, or in a flat orientation maybe to the ground. And when I'm playing these notes towards the back, look what happens to my hand. My hand gets kind of bent like this in an awkward position. So feel free to move your handpan in a way where you can play it more easily, so where your wrist isn't really cocked at an uncomfortable angle. Your wrist ideally should be kind of more of a straight position when you're playing. So you can see about that much bend when I just adjusted my handpan. So try to make it where your wrist is as flat as possible to get the nice even motion. Oh yeah, before I go into the scale and how to play it, let's actually talk about how to play the notes. So
quick question,
one
Dave.
exercise. Oh yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Quick question. We got Mitch Schroeder again. He asked about the tuning. Now he's asking about difference between 440 and 432, the ultimate question.
Ah, classic question. Okay, here's another handpan question. So I've talked about this with other people as well in different communities of thought. And so first of all, for the people that don't understand even the question, what the heck that means. So music is basically a pitch of a sound, is a frequency, basically a frequency of sound that's going by, right? And you can kind of see it in this wavelengths. And they call that hertz. HZ is the little smaller version of the way it's spelled. So if you say 440 Hz, it means hertz, 440 hertz, or 440 cycles per second, or something like that, right? It's a wavelength of sound. So it's per second, right? So you have 440 cycles per second, waves per second. There's another way of tuning where instead of 440 on A, it's 432. So actually, I believe the wavelength is longer, and I can't quite remember exactly. But the idea is that the wavelength is it has a different feel to it. And so if you instrument with the wavelengths being longer or shorter, again, I can't quite remember if it's longer or shorter, higher or lower, whatever. It's just different, that it can affect your body in a different way, and that it can be more of a spiritual experience for certain people. And like I said, I've talked to multiple people about this subject, and there's certain sound healers even that don't really think that it's that significant. Others are like fully on board with it. They really believe that it does kind of give you a different feeling in your body and your soul, and kind of connects you in a different way. My own personal experience is what I like to talk about most is that as a tuner, I tune musical instruments as a profession. And when I tune a 440 instrument, it sounds normal, right? But when I tune a 432 instrument, it does sound lower to me, just slightly. If I was to walk up to a 440 instrument and a 432 instrument without hearing any other music, I probably wouldn't really know that one was different than the other one. I would just assume that it was tuned to 440 because that's what's traditional. However, I've learned kind of when I do know that that's a 432 versus a 440, when I play the 432, it does kind of make me just feel like a little different, and not so much like a spiritual way or anything like that, but I think it just kind of creates a different sound in my brain. Like my brain recognizes that it's different, and I do feel like just a tad different. Like maybe I kind of my body position might change, like from a more rigid position to a more relaxed position. I don't know how to exactly explain it, but I do know that just from my own experience that when I play it, I do feel slightly different. But there's also some other things you need to consider when you have the idea of getting a 432 handpan. Is if you get a 432 hertz handpan, it won't sound good if you play it with other handpans at 440. Even other instruments. If you play a 432 handpan with a piano that's tuned to 440, it won't work. It'll sound dissonant. Same thing with guitar or any other instrument that's tuned to 440. You would have to tune those instruments to match your 432 handpan in order for them to sound good together. So it's one of those things we have to be careful. So if you're really thinking about just only playing solo or playing on your own as a solo instrument, 432, sure, no problem. But if you're considering playing with other people or making musical recordings with other instruments, you just have to be cautious because that 432 instrument might not match the other instruments that you're playing with or recording with on the recording. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I know I went on there for like a couple minutes, but there you go.
Right.
Long and short of it.
No, we always get that question, Dave, and from what I know why a lot of people, because a lot of people that are in the spiritual side of the handpan say that 432 is the frequency of the earth or something like that. So I guess that's the standard frequency. So they're trying to get more grounded. So, and then they have the bowls and all that stuff that are 432. So yeah, just like Dave, just like you're saying, if you will know when you need a 432. If you're new to handpan,
Yeah, and it's something you might want to experience it first before you actually order something like that. Like you might want to actually hear something and compare it to others, just for your own experience before you dive in too deep. So all right, so thank you, Daniel. All right, so so we were talking about how to get started with playing the handpan. So normally I start people out on the ding note. It's the largest note in the center of the instrument, and I usually start with my left hand. Instrument. If I start with my left hand, I can play all of the other notes by alternating my hands, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So I usually start on the left hand. And I usually just keep up with like a simple like this, where you're just going 4 strikes per hand. And you're just looking for a nice warm tone of that ding note. That's all you're looking for. So one thing that people do kind of get themselves into with a pickle is trying to kind of grab at the note, or they basically touch the note with a full hand like this, and that keeps the note from resonating, so it doesn't really make like a nice warm sound. It's because they're just touching the note rather than touching and releasing. So the trick really is to touch and release in a way where you're not overdoing it. Like you don't want to touch and release and like raise your hand like this and do these sharp motions, which are rigid motions like this. You don't want that. You want a nice, smooth, relaxed motion. When your hand or finger strikes the note, it just kind of bounces off the note immediately and allows that note to ring. So the same thing could be said about the side notes. The handpan tone fields here are a little bit different. The ding note is probably the easiest one to get a tone out of because it's large and it flexes really easily. People sometimes have a hard time with the higher notes, like this high A here. So sometimes it's like you have to get exactly the right position on those notes. Sometimes if you're hitting off to the side, you're not going to get a good sound. So you have to make sure that your accuracy is really good on those high notes. And then sometimes they can just be finicky. So sometimes you just need to practice and make sure that the way you're hitting it is ideal. So you're going to find that it's easier to hit the low notes and get a sound out of the lower notes. But as you go higher, sometimes it gets a little bit more difficult to get those higher ones to make a sound. But it's just all about practice and learning how to let your hand just kind of hit it with a relaxed hit and getting that finger to come off that note as fast as possible. So this is kind of what it looks like on the side note. You can see that my finger, let's see the image there. Yeah. So you can see that my finger strikes it and then comes off of the note almost immediately. So you can see also I'm not really curling my finger like this too much. Sometimes that doesn't always produce an ideal sound. I was talking to a handpan person on a previous show, and they suggest they actually like to play with their fingers like this. And he suggested like cutting your fingernails down because you can hear my fingernails touching there. But I can still kind of get it. And he likes it best, but you just have to make sure that you're not curling and touching and grabbing the note. It's a different way of getting that note to sound. So I typically play with a flat finger like that. And so the exercises that I would suggest would be something simple like left for 4 or 8 beats at a time, and then switching to the right. And you can kind of make a simple exercise out of this. 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2. And then you can take that exercise and move it to the side notes, like over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And right now I'm kind of going a little bit for a beginner. I'm just trying to move it along so you can get the lesson idea. But you're really just looking for like a consistent sound. And then as you progress, you can just start moving up to different notes. But a lot of the point of a lot of this is just the repetition of it and getting the relaxation of the motion, making sure you have a nice relaxed feel when you're playing the instrument. But again, practicing, like we were talking with Heathrow earlier today, like he's about 15 minutes a day, that's perfect. So if you could just do some exercises like this for 10 or 15 minutes a day, after a few weeks, you're going to feel a lot more confident with your playing. Okay, so that's basically how to strike the notes. Now we have the scale. How do we play the scale? So like I said, I typically start on my left hand here. Some handpans are made in a different way, which you might start on your right hand. So if you have a handpan that's not made by us, or even one that was made by us several years back, it might be where you need to play with your right hand first. But mostly it's left hand leads. It starts the scale. So we're going to play a left hand on the ding note, right hand on the A, left hand on the C. And you'll notice I'm not crossing over, and I'm not playing 2 notes with the same hand ever. And what do I mean by that? Like, for instance, I'm not playing my right hand and then my right hand on the opposite side. I'm not doing this. I'm not crossing over the instrument, okay? So you'll see that I'm just very simply alternating my hands all the way up that scale. So left, right, left, right, left, right. That's right. Don't forget to breathe while you're doing simple exercises like this, especially as a beginner. Sometimes you're concentrating so much on getting the right action and the right sound that you forget to breathe. So don't forget to breathe. Breathe in and try that scale left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Okay, so that is basically the way the sunset scale from the lowest note to the highest note. All right, so there's another fun little thing on how to do on this instrument is how to play rhythmically. So on all of these notes, the way I just showed you, you want your finger to come off of that note pretty much immediately, right? What you want to do with when you're creating rhythms is you actually kind of want to leave your finger on the metal. It kind of gives it a nice snap. So find a place of where the metal is between the notes. So we call this metal the interstitial metal. So here's a note, and here's the metal between the notes, and it just tick-tacky sound. Another spot over here. There's all sorts of different places, even the bottom. You can find a spot on the bottom where it just makes that ticky-tacky sound. And you can pretend like this is going to be a bass drum and a snare drum of a drum set. So I am typically play the snare drum part with my right hand, and I typically play the ding note with my left hand. So we're going to pretend the ding note is the bass drum. We're going to pretend the right hand is the snare drum, and you can create little drum beats like this. So you get that idea. So we have this little song called the Austin Funk that I always teach to all my classes. And so if you've seen this before, you can just join in. But if you haven't done it before, I'm going to show you how we play this. It's a very short rhythmic kind of song. So we play the same pattern 3 times in a row, and then we break it up with like a little part in between. So the part is 3 times in a row of this pattern. So that's one cycle. So we're going to do two more of those to make it a set of 3. So it's going to sound like this. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to stop. We would hit that one more time, and the part that goes between is a C, D, C, D. Left, right, left, right. So that's what it's going to sound. So let me just show you how the whole thing sounds, and we'll break it down one more time. 2, 3. So that's the whole pattern. I'm playing it again. 2, 3. Stop on 4 here. 4, rest. So you can see how that works. Stop, rest, left, right, back to the beginning. So the thing that a lot of people kind of get stuck on is the rest, where there's no sound. So when I'm playing this rhythm, that's usually not hard for people to kind of grasp in it originally. It's right here, rest. So you just need to make sure there's a little silence there before you play the C and the D, C and the D. So it's left, right, C, D, C, D. And that immediately goes back to the beginning of the rhythm with your left hand on the ding. So that's another thing, is the transition from the end of the piece back to the beginning. So if you go left, right, left. That's another thing you would want to practice. Left, right, left. Left, right, left. And that left right there that I ended with is actually the beginning of the song. So once again, here's the whole pattern. Austin Funk. 2, 3. Rest. And this is a fun one for a lot of beginners because it's fairly simple. Play it and talk. Like right now I'm talking and playing. Or you could even say like some poetry, like the ABCs. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, that sort of thing. Anyway, you can create all sorts of different ideas that you can go along with and play that rhythm. And you can really get yourself centered on that rhythm and doing other things like singing poetry, singing a song, whatever you want to do. And it's still some kind of basic thing that you can get started with. So, all right, so we've talked about where the notes are located on the handpan. We've talked about how to strike the notes. We've talked about the simple basic sunset scale and how to play that. We've given you, or I've given you like a short little tutorial on how to play a rhythm on the handpan. Daniel, are any other comments out there, questions?
questions or comments, but Dave, you are awesome, and thank you for sharing. And I love that new that designed handpan that you got there.
Yeah.
That's a Luna artistic series. Luna.
Yeah. Oh, what did we call it? We had a name for it. The Galaxy series. This one has kind of a galaxy look to it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Got some
oh my
spirals.
gosh.
It's like a spiral galaxy.
That's David art right there.
It's the secret.
There you go. Yeah. Fun.
Only his memory.
All right. So just FYI, before I leave, I was talking with some customers earlier this week, and they were playing as a duo together. And so they were trying to come up with ideas of how to play with each other as like a duo. And I just wanted to, just before I leave, show you a couple techniques that I use to create song ideas. And one thing that I always kind of think of personally is I always think about two parts. One part being the bass part, which might be the bass or the rhythm, and then another part which would be considered the melody. So for instance, this part that I just showed you, the Austin Funk, I would consider that kind of like a bass line or a rhythm line. And then this here is kind of a little bit of a melody. But if you take that out and you just only do this, it's like a rhythm. And it's just like the bass part of the song. So if I was to play this, somebody else could play the melody. So just imagine that continues to go. And then another person plays something like this, just very simple, like up and down the scale. Boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, 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 right? So that bass rhythm is still going in the background, and somebody else is playing the melody on top of it. Boom, bop, boom, boom, bop, 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 boom, bop. Boom, boom, bop, right? So you can see how that is just continuously going in the background. And that's kind of how you develop ideas for playing with somebody else. So if you're playing with somebody else, one person can really, on a basic level, can play something simple. So in this case, I was playing that rhythm, right? You could also develop something simple like this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So one person, that's all they play over and over again. And then the other person would play something different. So, boom, 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 boom. So the other person just keeps going on that bass line idea, right? And then the other person comes up with melodic ideas. So as a beginner, just like a simple melodic idea would just be playing the scale. Just play the scale the way it's laid out on the handpan. You don't have to be super duper creative with it at that point. Another idea is just to use that scale. So it's a whole scale. You could just use maybe the top 3 notes. Maybe repeat that again. Repeat it again. And then play the whole scale. Right? So just the top 3 notes, and then the whole scale. And then the background is the bass. Boom, 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 boom. So you get the idea. So I just wanted to get you those ideas introduced to you today. So if you're still watching, it's a really fun and easy way to get going with somebody else and playing as a unit. So just always think about the parts in 2 ways, like a bass line or a rhythm, and then the melody. So you can even do that personally if you're playing by yourself. Since I was just talking about that bass line here, just doing this, you could start the song by just doing this, and then deviate to the other part that I was playing a second ago. So here's the bass line, and then the melody. We're going to go back to the bass line. So that kind of gives the shape to your song now. So now people are going to remember what this sounds like, and they're going to remember what that melody sounds like. and you just kind of play them over and over again, or you come up with different ideas from there to break it up. Or sometimes silence is always good. Like you could just stop, just rest for a little while, take a deep breath, back to it. So there's all sorts of fun things that you can do with the handpan and getting melodies started that are very simple and basic ideas, but they're effective. And so if you want to find a song or start learning how to play songs on the handpan, don't always think of them as like a traditional song like Mary Had a Little Lamb or something like that. Think about it more as simple parts that are put together in a melodic way that's kind of interesting and has some shape to it. And shape meaning like a different like sounds, like you've got a bass line sound, you've got a melody sound, and you also have silence and that sort of thing. So anyway, so I just wanted to give you some ideas on how to play on your own, create some song ideas. And that's it. Daniel, do we have anything else before we sign off today?
I'm checking out the comments. Thanks for everybody that were on. Mitch Schrader, thanks for all your questions, and everybody else that is watching and may watch later. I know it's a nice day in Saturday today, and the sun is out, so I think there's
it's a gorgeous day today.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous day today, and that's all I got for you today. I think that's it.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you the next time. Toodly oodly.
Yeah. Give him a few seconds there. Have a beautiful weekend, everybody. Don't forget to breathe. Namaste. And keep on strumming ukulele.
That's right.